Welcome to the Made by Jo crafting podcast. My name is Jo. I'm a knitter, crocheter and sewer based in Fife in Scotland, and this is a little place for me to share some of the things I've been working on. My plan is to follow the traditional knitting podcast style, if you're aware of that, but talk about all three of my favourite crafts. A little bit about me before I begin. I am an avid watcher of podcasts. I watch about 4 or 5 people on a regular basis, and I love them. I love to knit with them and just get a general idea of what the person is up to. So I've been thinking about doing this for about 9 months, and I've been waiting until I moved into my new home with my boyfriend Angus, because he has been so graciously kind to let me turn our third bedroom into a crafting space, which is where we are today. So you can't see it right now because of the lighting, but I have a lovely wall over there that I'll insert a wee video of that's got all of my yarn on it, and it's also my office, so it's where I work every day, but I get to stare at my yarn wall, which is nice and inspiring throughout the day as well. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about a little bit of the things I've worked on in the past. I think it's useful to understand where a knitter is, or a crocheter or a sewer, where they are in their journey, and sort of relate to them, see how they relate to you, and that is something that I'm going to do today. And then I'm going to talk about my works in progress that I've got at the moment, some plans for the future, and then I've got a couple of acquisitions to show you as well today. I'm going to start off by talking about what I'm wearing, because I was going to forget that there. This is the Corin cardigan by Rebecca Clow of the Crafty. I tested this cardigan for Rebecca and was very fortunate to be chosen to also be in some of the photographs, so you might have seen this cardigan in some of the photographs if you follow her. It is a lacework cardigan, and I have knit it in Petite Knits Double Sunday in the colour Statement Green. I absolutely love it, and I'll include some B-reel of it because I love it so much. And I managed to upcycle my buttons. These were vintage buttons that my granny had that I popped on at the end, and I absolutely love this cardigan. It's, for me, the perfect summer cardigan. I have, as I mentioned, live in Scotland and it's always chilly. You can never be sure that a day that starts off sunny is going to end that way, so this is a wool cardigan rather than cotton, and it's perfect for the summer where it is at the moment. I am now going to move on to some reference projects I've worked on before. So my first ever knitting experience was via an Aldi knitting kit. I can actually see it, it's over there. It's a knit kit Gryffindor tea cozy. It was a colourwork tea cozy that had a big G in the middle, and it's safe to say I never finished it. I did enjoy the knitting part of it, but the needles were wooden and super bendy, and the yarn was incredibly splitty, so it didn't go exactly as planned. But I decided to knit during COVID, as many people did, and this project here is my first ever knitting project. Now, I call this my isolation scarf because I knit it during the 10-day period in which I had to isolate, because my father-in-law had COVID. So we were isolating in a room away from him, and I knit this whole scarf. So I have taken some B-roll to show you exactly how long this scarf is, but it's definitely Doctor Who inspired. It's massive, and it is a 1x1 ribbed scarf. One of the things I love about this scarf, and one of the reasons I think a scarf is a great first project, is you can really see your growth throughout the scarf. So this end of the scarf is holey. I clearly didn't know the difference between a knit stitch and a purl stitch, and that's left gaps and purl bumps and garter at bits, and it's just a bit mental. But by the end on this side, it's so neat and I absolutely love it. My tension was good, and I absolutely love this scarf. I get compliments every single time I wear it, from people that don't know I've knit it, ask me where it's from and things like that, even though you can tell if you look closely. But I'm so proud of it, and it is massive, which is great in the winter time. This is knit up in a paint box chunky cake. I couldn't tell you the colourway, it was 3 years ago now. So if I can find it, I'll put it down below. If I cannot, I apologise. But it was just on Love Crafts, and it was one that wasn't too expensive considering I had no idea if I was going to enjoy knitting. So this is my first ever knitting project, and I just thought on my first ever crafting podcast, this was a good place to share this one. My second ever project is a little bit of a jump. I decided I wanted to knit a jumper. I decided I did not want to pay for a pattern. I didn't know anything about designers or anything really about the knitting community online. All I knew is how to Google. So I just Googled knitted jumper, and one of the first things that came up was a jumper called the Ural Mousse sweater. It's available on Instagram, and it's also available on Ravelry, which is where I got it, and it was free at the time. I don't know if it's now a paid for pattern. Because it was a free pattern, it's an Icelandic style sweater, and the English translation was sometimes questionable, so it took me quite a while to knit. I'm caveating you with all this information because when you see this jumper you're going to think, why would you choose that for a first jumper? So this is my first ever knit jumper, and I was crazy for trying it, to be perfectly honest, but I did it and I'm really proud of it. This jumper is knit bottom up. It's knit obviously separately then and then joined at the chest, and then you knit the yoke at the end and your neckline. I knit this over 7 months. It took me a long time, as you can probably imagine. I knit the first sleeve and then I got bored and then I put it down, and then I knit the second sleeve and then again I got bored so I put it down. I think there's someone outside my door, so apologies if you can hear that. And then I joined in the round. I actually then had a 3-month break on the jumper because there was some work getting done on the pattern, some changes being made, so I waited for that to be finished and then I knit the yoke. This jumper is knit in Drops Snow in 3 different colours. I'm not even sure if you can get Drop Snow anymore. I'm not sure if it's now changed to something different and has a different name. If it is, I will put it somewhere on the screen that it's got a different name now, but again, this was knit in 2020, so I'm not sure of the colours. If I can find them, again, I'll put them on the screen or in the description box if I can. But this is my first ever knit jumper, and I just really wanted to show it off. It doesn't get enough love, to be honest, because it is 3-stranded colour work. The inside is so thick with floats and things. It's really, really warm. And you can only really get away with wearing it in the depths of winter, which I haven't done yet. It also has a couple of fit issues, as you can probably imagine from a first garment. It doesn't have any short rows in it or anything like that, and I didn't really have an understanding of how a garment should fit you, so I just knit it to pattern and then wore it. So when you put this on, it rolls up, it bunches up. I took some footage of it, so I'll show you what I mean, but it bunches up just above the chest, I think because the yoke is slightly too long, so when I lift my arms up the whole yoke gets moved up. But again, it's my first ever knitted jumper. I'm never going to get rid of it. I'm going to try and wear it a little bit more from now on. Now I've pulled it out of my parents' cupboard and it's going to be in my own home and somewhere I can find it. But yeah, this is my first ever knitted jumper. And then since then I found out about the knitting community. I met quite a few people online, I found out how to work Ravelry, and I've been doing so many different patterns and patterns that are paid for and things like that. So I've gone a little bit of a different direction. But this was one of my first ever knitting projects, and I thought it was a good one to show off because it doesn't get enough love in my wardrobe. Now, I wanted to show you a couple of sewing and crochet projects too, but I don't have very many of them in my new home. I am going to try and get some footage. So crocheting wise, I have done a variety of different things. I've crocheted washcloths and things like that for the sink for using instead of sponges. I've crocheted toys for my nephews. I made a giraffe called George and I absolutely love him. If I can get a video of George, I will pop it in because he's amazing and I'm really proud of him. But probably my biggest and most proud of crochet project to date is a blanket that I crocheted for my granny. Now, I do get emotional when I talk about this, so I apologise, but I crocheted a Christmas blanket for my granny. It was a crochet kit by the Crochet Sanctuary. Crochet Sanctuary, that is really difficult to say. And I bought it and I didn't realise how long it was going to take me. I started it mid-November, expecting to give it as a Christmas present to my granny, but ended up not giving it to her until mid-January. The reason I made it for my gran was that she had just recently moved into a care home and I thought it would be a fabulous way to make her room feel a bit more homely. And my granny also had dementia, so she didn't realise that it wasn't Christmas time by the time that I gifted it to her. Now my granny had it from January to May, but sadly we lost my granny around the May time, so I have got the blanket back. It is a wonderful heirloom blanket now. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to have it here in this house for Christmas. But yeah, it brings back a lot of memories, that blanket, and I really loved working on it. And I'm really glad that she got to enjoy it for a couple months before she left us. So that is a couple of my crochet projects that I've done in the past. And then finally some sewing projects. I have sewn a wide variety of things. I started sewing quilts again. An Aldi purchase got me into sewing. I found fabric fat quarters on one of those one exercise a day walks that I popped to Aldi during COVID, and I stood in the shop googling what can I make with fat quarters and found out about quilting and making pillows and things. So I've made baby quilts, I've made pillows, I have then moved on to bags. I sewed bags for quite a while, so I have quite a few project bags that I've made for myself, or handbags that I've made. And then I moved on to clothes and thought I'd give clothes a try. So predominantly so far I have knit little dungarees. I have two nephews, one is 16 months and one is 4, and I love to sew them little jersey dungarees in a variety of different fabrics. So they have a load of sewn dungarees, but for myself I have made a white 3-tier dress, which I'll insert a picture of where I can, and I've also sewn myself some summer clothes. We went to Portugal last summer, so I sewed myself a lovely beach shirt. It's really long and oversized, and I wore that almost every day of the holiday. I absolutely loved it. But I do have some more sewing projects that I want to do moving forward, and I've got some fabric for them, so I'll show you that a little bit later on. So that was a bit of a whistle stop on me and my crafting journey over the last 3 years, which is crazy to say that it's already been 3 years. But I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea of who I am, the colours I like, what I've been up to, and what skill level or what level within my crafting that I am. And yeah, see, it makes you, maybe you can relate to some of the things that I've made, maybe you've made something similar, but I'm going to move on to whips now, I believe. Okay, so I'm going to move on to my whips. All of my whips today are knitting whips. It is summer at the moment, it's August, and that means I don't really want to be inside on my sewing machine. Firstly, my sewing machine is still in the box that it was in when we brought it here, so I haven't had it out. But also I crochet a lot of blankets and things like that, which isn't really where we are at the moment in terms of weather. So all of my whips today are knitting, and knitting's been portable and easy for me to manage during the house move. So everything I've got today is knitting, and I hope you don't mind that. But it is from a variety of different designers, so hopefully there is something that will interest you. I'm going to start with my most knitted on item for the last few days. This is a test knit. So I mentioned I test knit this for Rebecca of the Crayabea, and this is another test for Rebecca. I attend Rebecca's knit night, or the knit night that Rebecca also goes to in Edinburgh, and she often is very gracious and lets some of us test her knits. So I put myself forward for the Leith cardigan and was a successful tester for her. So I have been working on this for about 2 weeks, I think about 2 weeks. And this is my version. I attempted to steam, apologies about the ends, but I attempted to steam block this morning, having never done that before, so fingers crossed it looks all right. But it is a stripy cardigan, it's drop shoulder and it's a little bit oversized, and I absolutely loved it when I saw her picture of it. I'll put her picture in so you know what it's meant to look like. And I decided to go for a similar colour vibe that she went for in her first sample, which was 4 different colours. So as you can see, I've knit in purple and in a tealy blue so far, and then I brought the 2 other colours with me. I'm going to be adding a darker blue in this colour here, and then orange as well in this colour here. So the dark blue is going to go on the side with the purple, and then the orange is going to go on the side with the tealy colour. Now, I have knit this entirely in Drops Lima. I like Drops Lima. I've knit it in several other projects and I find it really great. It's soft enough for me, but it's not really expensive, and sometimes I find I've got a variety of costs of yarn here, but I wanted to try and make this one in a decent priced yarn because I was having to buy 2 of each colour to get it done basically. So if you don't know, I'm sure you do know, but Drops Lima is a wool and alpaca blend. It's 65% wool and 35% alpaca. You get 100 meters for 50 grams, and I found that this was a really good alternative for Cascade 220. It's pretty much the same gauge, but it's got a little bit of alpaca which helps with drape. Someone mentioned to me that alpaca can often pill a little bit quicker than normal yarns, and I'm hopeful that that's not the case for me. It probably will be, but we're giving it a go. Interestingly, this Corin cardigan is knit in double Sunday, as I mentioned, which isn't got alpaca in it, and it has pilled like crazy under the arms, which I wasn't expecting because that's such a well used yarn by people, and it's not something that I've heard about it pilling loads, but for me it has. I have worn this cardigan a lot, so that's probably also why, but pilling to me it's not that annoying as long as it's not excessive. I don't really mind. So anyway, that was off track. So yeah, this is knit in Drops Lima. I will pop the colours again in a little bubble somewhere in the corner. This cardigan is knit in Intarsia. Now, I've never ever done Intarsia, which is a little bit scary, but once you've tried it for the first time, it really isn't anything to be scared of. It's kind of like cables. Once you've done it once, you know kind of how to do it. So the stripes don't match up at the back, which is really lovely, and I just think it's cool. I think it's a cool cardigan, a cool design. I wanted to give a go. It's done bottom up. It's done bottom up, which isn't my favourite way to do cardigans because I'm lazy. And you start with a lot of stitches when you start bottom up, and I think sometimes that can be a little bit demotivating. But yesterday, once you got to kind of the shaping bit at the top, I was flying through it yesterday and I could not put it down. So it went from a weird floppy item to a proper vest that you can try on. So hopefully I will have been showing you me trying it on for the last like 30 seconds of me talking about it. But I really love it and I'm really proud of how it looks so far, and I like my colour choices. So I'm looking forward to working on the button band and then also working on the sleeves and seeing it come together. The deadline for this is towards the end of August, so I'm really glad I've now got a little vest, because for a little while there I was quite worried that I was going to be behind on that project. But yeah, it's getting there. I love it. I think it looks awesome, and some of the testers have done fab versions. There's a boucle version, there's a neutral version that I've loved, and then Amy Palco from The Meaningful Stitch is also a test knitter, and her colourway, just wait, if you don't follow her on Instagram, and I don't know if she's posted it yet, but you should follow her just to see what it looks like, because she is a wizard with colour and it looks amazing. So definitely recommend checking that out. But that is my first work in progress. Where shall we go next? Where shall we go? Let's go summery. So this seems to be the year of the summer top. Everyone seems to be working on some form of summer top knit. And I didn't really get on the bandwagon for the first wee while. I knit a toaster tee. Again, I tested a toaster tee for Rebecca and absolutely love it. I wear it all the time. I don't think I appreciated how much I was going to love that, but I just think I think it's fab. It's so comfortable and I definitely need to knit another one. But my only other summer knit is what I'm going to show you now. So this has lots of cables attached to it and again lots of ends, so I have taken some other footage to show you because I'm not sure this is going to look particularly nice. But this is my shoreline tee. So this is actually a drops pattern. So drops have a library of thousands of free patterns that you can have a look at. But I was actually inspired by an Instagram post. So you might know of her. She goes by the Crafty Pie. Her name is Brogan. And actually she wore a vest in one of her photos that was knitted but it was shop bought, and it was just a classic sweater vest, but it had this wavy pattern on it, and ever since I saw it I thought I need that in my wardrobe. But I didn't really think, I'm not a sweater vest wearer. I don't really know how to style them. I think they look really, really lovely with jeans, but I don't wear jeans that often because I don't find them that comfortable. So I was trying to think about a way that I could incorporate it into my wardrobe. And then I saw the shoreline tee, and then I went on Ravelry, did some looking around and saw that someone else had done a version where they removed the A-line portion of the t-shirt. So the shoreline is an A-line top that flows out at the bottom, which I think is lovely, but it's not really my style. I just wanted a t-shirt version, and someone had done that and they explained exactly how they did that. They did some decreases under the arms and then just knit straight from there, and that's exactly what I've done. So this is a entirely free pattern, so I can talk about it. You basically cast on at the neck and then you're just working, I think it's called a fan and flare stitch, which is the waves, and I have changed obviously every sort of wave section, and then you cast off for the sleeves and put the sleeves on hold, and then you knit the body. So hi everyone, apologies for the slightly different lighting. I had to stop because we live on a building site and some builders arrived to sort one of the issues we had with our home, and then the road cleaner went past, so it's been very noisy. So it's slightly later on for me, so apologies if the lighting is slightly different or I'm in a slightly different position to the last clip you saw. I believe I was talking about my shoreline tee. So at the moment the shoreline I have is about crop length, and for me I do really want it to be full length, so I'm going to do another colour section repeat of all of the colours that I'm doing, and then it'll be full length on me, and hopefully I will have it done in time for this summer. I forgot to mention at the beginning, but I'm using the Paintbox Yarns Cotton DK. Oh, there's the road cleaner going past again. Oh, the joys of a new build home. Hopefully you can't hear it anymore, but that I used for my shoreline tee the Paintbox Yarns Cotton DK. So they come in 50-gram balls in a variety of different colours, and they are 100% cotton. So this is the blood orange colourway, and all of them do have names, so I will put them on the screen for you. This yarn is really inexpensive, and to be honest that's what I wanted, to do a tee that I wasn't 100% sure was going to come out perfectly. But I'm actually really loving it. I think it looks really nice, the drape is really nice. I don't know if I mentioned already because it's been a while since I was filming the first part, but I've used some other cottons. I've used the Woolly Knit 100% cotton cone, and that is really soft. and this isn't quite as soft as that, but still the perfect softness for a summer tee. So like I said, hopeful that I can get this finished and actually get to wear it before the end of the summer here. We are counting down the days, although July didn't really feel like summer. By the end of August it's quite chilly, so fingers crossed I can bash this one out soon and be able to wear it before the end of the summer. So that is my Shoreline tee and the modifications. I also have the Shoreline on my Ravelry, which I'll have linked below, and that explains my modifications a bit more and also directly links the lovely lady that did the modifications first as well. So if you wanted to check their page out, you totally can. So that is my Shoreline tee. Okay, so that is 2 whips done, so I'm going to move on to my 3rd whip. Now this whip is a gift knit, which I am very much enjoying. I have a colleague who has just informed us that she is pregnant, and I just immediately thought I want to make them something. I do get on with her really well. I think she's lovely, and I'm looking forward to giving her this. I know she'll really appreciate it. So I wasn't too worried about spending the time making her a baby knit. I did also get to use something from Stash, which makes it easier as well. I had this Drops Merino Extra Fine in Stash. I've used it before for baby knits for my sister, for my 2 nephews, and she finds it incredibly easy to look after. It is 100% merino wool and it is superwash as well. So this is in the colour 37. It's kind of like a dark sage green, I would probably say. It's one of the person I'm knitting it's for's favourite colours, and she's already told me she's going to be dressing her little one in whatever colour she sees fit, so it doesn't matter if the baby is a girl, for example. I know some people would prefer it to be pink if it was a girl, so she has told me she's alright with whatever colour, and this will be a nice surprise for her. She has since told us that she is leaving the job as well, so I now have a very short deadline of the 16th of August to get this done for her. So I've spoken about the yarn, but I realise I'm telling you all about this and I've not actually said what it is. I have decided to knit the Selmas Sleep Suit by Petite Knit. This is a outerwear garment for babies. I don't think they have a bigger size, I think it is just in the baby size. And it has a hood, a button band, it buttons all the way up the middle, and it's got bits that cover the feet and bits that cover the hands as well that fold over, so that the baby can be fully encompassed in the little suit. So I have knitted the hood and I have just placed the markers for doing the yoke as well. So I really haven't got very much, it's quite difficult to show you. I do have some other footage of this, so hopefully I can show you a little bit better, but it's all over garter stitch. And I just think that's really lovely. I haven't done an all over garter stitch garment, and I've also not really worked with increases in garter stitch, so I'm interested to see how I get on with that. It is just like your classic raglan increases, so I'm hopeful that it will still look lovely. I've done a couple and I can't really see them, so I'm hopeful that it will stay that way and will keep looking as lovely as it is. So I have been knitting this for about 4 or 5 days. I think I started it on Sunday, so yeah, 4 or 5 days, and I think it's doing really well. This is an entire ball, this is all I have left of the ball, so I've got this one with me for knitting on as well. But yeah, I think it's lovely. The person I'm knitting it for, it's really difficult to speak about someone when you know their name and not say their name, but the person I'm knitting it for is an outdoorsy person. They love hiking, they love walking, they have 2 German Vizslas, and they also are a runner, so I know they're going to be outside with their wee one when they're very small. So this is the size 0 to 3 months, which I'm hopeful will be fine. The baby is due in November and I know that she'll want to be out as soon as she can be, so I'm really hoping that peak winter the baby will be able to fit in this and they can be wearing it in the pram while she's out walking the dogs or out for a run. So I think this is going to look really lovely. I did get mixed opinions on it. I posted on Instagram asking for people's opinion if they'd knit it before, and one of my friends said they knitted it, they liked the finished garment but they hated the knitting process, and I had another person who said they loved the knitting process, so very polarised. At the moment I will say you are knitting constantly, so it's good for meeting knitting, lunchtime knitting, when you're watching a film or you're commuting, that sort of thing. It's good for that because you're just always knitting. But it did get a bit tedious towards the end of this section because, as you can see, it's just back and forward. There's no changes at all. But now I'm in the increase section. I'm hopeful that it will be really engaging again, and it has been for this last few rows. So I'm hopeful that it will continue to be lovely and that I get it done. If I meet the deadline, I should have this finished before my next episode, so fingers crossed I actually get it finished in time for her. But yeah, this will be my Selmas sleep suit. And then my final whip for today's episode is probably one you've seen on other people's videos. This whip is in this lovely project bag. My best friend, or one of my best friends, Hannah, got me this for Christmas. The dog is a Cocker Spaniel, and you will have seen from the little clip at the beginning that I have a Cocker Spaniel. His name is Albie. He may join us throughout these podcasts, depending on how I get my setup sorted, but he loves to sit next to me when I'm knitting, so he will definitely make an appearance. But inside this lovely project bag is my final whip today, which is the West Knits Mystery Sock Along. As soon as I saw he was doing a sock version of his shawl along, I definitely had to sign myself up for that. I've always been interested in the mystery shawl. Last year lots of ladies from Knit Night did it, but for me that's a lot of money and a lot of time to invest in something that I might not like, and I'm also not really a shawl wearer, so I wouldn't want to spend all the time and money and then not like it at the end or not wear the final garment. So when he said he was doing socks, I thought, well, that's definitely something I can get behind. I like knitting socks, I love knitting my partner socks, and it's less of a commitment. I think if you knit the socks and then you didn't like them, you wouldn't be like, oh, I've just wasted so much money and hours and hours and hours of my time. Whereas now for this, I was maybe doing 4 hours a week for the 4 clues and I had it done. So it's kind of a half finished object because I have one finished sock and then one work in progress sock. So first of all, I will talk about the yarn because I got the ball bands during the break, so I would know what they are. So the first one, which is my main colour for the sock, which I will show you here. Apologies for the cake, it's no longer a neat cake. But this is by Felt Fusion, hand-dyed yarn and knitted garments, and it's in the colourway Bellatrix. It is superwash merino and nylon, and this one is 365 metres for 100 grams. I actually didn't purchase this, I got this through a Knit Night yarn swap, so one of the lovely Knit Night ladies donated this to the swap and I picked it up. As soon as I saw it was called Bellatrix, I had to have it. I am a Harry Potter fan. I love Harry Potter. It's nostalgic for me. I can remember being read the books when I was younger. Oftentimes, if I'm stressed, I like to listen to the books or they help me fall asleep. So I'm a big Harry Potter fan. So as soon as I saw this was called Bellatrix, it had to come home with me. And this seemed like the perfect way to utilise such a lovely colour. I wouldn't probably use this in a garment, but I knew I would want to use it in socks in some way, so I have used it for my partner's socks here. And then the second yarn that I've got is this one. It's in a slightly nicer ball. This is by Sheep on Mars. It's 25% nylon and 75% superwash wool. It's 100 grams for 400 metres. And this one doesn't have a colour name on it, so apologies, but I did buy it on Etsy in one of their sales, so maybe that's because they don't have any left. So that is my 2 yarns, and I will just show you my finished sock. So I absolutely love the way that these have knit together, these 2 colours. I think the blue really pops. I was worried it wasn't going to be high enough contrast because these socks were called Contrast Blast, but they definitely have enough contrast between the 2 of them. It's a 2x2 rib cuff, then some cabling, and then what he called the stair stepper stripe. And I absolutely love this bit. I couldn't get enough of this bit. I knit this bit really quickly, and I would actually love to make a pair of socks for myself that's just this stair stepper section. This was definitely my favourite, or one of my 2 favourite bits of the sock. You then move on to this reverse stockinette, very Stephen West weaving section. And to be honest, I don't really like this section. I didn't really enjoy knitting it that much, although the stripes were a bit moreish. I think it looks quite chunky just above the heel, but my partner thinks it's cool, and that's good enough for me. If he is his socks, he's going to be wearing them. And then again on the foot you have these stair stepper stripes, and then more of the reverse stockinette but with cable over the top. And then just your classic toe. There was some ribbing at the beginning. Oh no, the toe is, yeah, the toe right until the end is ribbed, which I've never done before, but it seems interesting enough. I think in the dark yarn you can't really see it, which is a bit of a shame, but it is a ribbed toe. But I must say my favourite bit after I liked this more than I liked the stair stepper bit, is the heel. So this is what the heel flap looks like. I have never knit a heel flap before. I taught myself on my first ever pair of socks to do a Fish Lips Kiss heel, just because I'd heard Nitty Natty talking about it and saying it's her favourite heel. So before I even knew how to knit socks, I knew how to knit that heel. So I've never actually done this. So this is my first time ever doing a heel flap and gusset, and my partner says it's the best fitting pair of socks that I've made him. So I'm definitely going to keep the recipe that Stephen West has given us in the MCAL in terms of number of foot rows, how to do the heel, and then I can just swap in and out the patterns that he did and make a really nice pair of socks for my partner. So this is the right sock, because you did different instructions for right and left, so that's the finished right sock. And then on the left sock I am on the gusset, the heel gusset. So I did both of these in week 1 and 2 of the challenge. Then I went camping with my family, fell behind and just never picked it up again. So I wanted to get one sock finished during sort of the challenge he was doing. So this one will get worked up. I kind of want it off the needles so I can work on other socks or other projects and not feel like it's an extra whip in my brain. But equally, if I don't get it done, it can just sit in this bag for a little while. So yeah, this is my second Stephen West mystery knit along sock, and it is my last whip for today. So I think we are going to move on now to future projects / acquisitions. I say slash because some of these have been in stash for quite a while, and some of these have come completely out of stash, and some of it is purchase. So I think I'll do the stash busting projects first, then my pure acquisitions, and then we'll be done for the day. Okie dokie then, so let's start with one that has a deadline. I go to Knit Night as I mentioned, and so does the lovely Amy Palco from the Meaningful Stitch. And Amy asked a bunch of us ladies from Knit Night if we would be willing to test a pattern for her. She is launching a new pattern called the Gallus Scarf, and she's launching it at the Scottish Yarn Festival. The Scottish Yarn Festival used to be Perth Festival of Yarns, which I went to last year, and it is happening in September in Perth again, but it's rebranded and changed name. Amy has asked if we would like to knit one and wear it to SYF in order to launch her new pattern. So of course I said yes, I'm a sucker for a test knit, and also just wanted to give a scarf a go. Other than my isolation scarf, I've never knit another scarf, and I thought it would be a nice upgrade or a slightly fancier version. For those of you who may not know Amy Palco, she is a colour wizard. She knits with such beautiful colours, and she also does a lot of like pops of colour that I'm never really brave enough to try. So I thought in an outerwear garment I'm going to try something new and try and use some of my singular skeins. So as I mentioned, I went to Perth Festival of Yarn last year. It was my first sort of introduction to hand-dyed yarn. I'd never been around hand-dyed yarn before, and I picked up a lot of single skeins because I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was walking around and just gravitating to all the colours that I love, and yeah, just wanted to pick up one of everything. And I should have really twigged on at the time. A lot of the stall holders were like, oh, and what are you going to knit with this? And I was just like, socks to every single one. Socks, socks, socks. And I could be knitting socks for the rest of time and still not get through all of these. So I thought this Gallus would be a perfect way to use some of those skeins, or some of the hand-dyed skeins that I have collected over the time. So This is the colour palette that I have ended up going for. Hopefully I can pick them all up. There is 5 skeins, so it's not easy. So hopefully you can kind of see. I also took some other footage of these colours, so I will put that in as well, because I appreciate that wasn't the easiest way to hold them up. My plan, I believe, is to have them, let me hold them in order and see if I can hold them against myself. Oh. Is to have them in order like this, and use them this way. So I should have mentioned, the Gallus scarf is made up of parallelograms. Gosh, I stumble every single time I try and say that. Parallelograms and triangles, and then it's got wee tassels at the end. I'll insert a picture of Amy's first sample here. So it's a really beautiful way to show off some hand-dyed yarn, because you'll really be able to see them. It's in garter stitch, so it's nothing too crazy, so the yarn's really allowed to shine. So in order to have the hand-dyed yarn be the yarns that you're going to see the most, I've chosen them to be my 2 end yarns. So the first one I've got here is a Zakami yarn. This is called Woodland Tales, and it's 100% superwash fine merino. It's fingering weight. It's got these beautiful burnt orange colours at the top, and then it sort of fades down into greens and then into blue at the bottom. And that is going to be at one end of my scarf. And then at the complete opposite end, I've got a hand-dyed yarn that was actually gifted to me by my mother. She bought this at Perth Festival of Yarn and then has never really got it out to use it. So she has said that I can use it for this scarf. And it's a very similar colour palette. It's orange and blue. When she bought it, I told her it looked like Iron Brew colours, because that's definitely the vibe it's giving. And it's a little brighter than this one, but I think they'll be far enough away from each other that they'll really look nice in the scarf. Sorry. So these are my first 2. Apologies, I don't know who made this one, who dyed this one. My mum does not keep the ball bands, so I have no idea. Otherwise I would let you know. So I apologise, but I don't have the name of this one. For the next parallelogram in, I've decided to do my 2 solid, or predominantly solid colours. So for that, I have gone, the only sort of commercial yarn I've gone for is Drops Flora. I didn't have another skein that was solid enough in colour that I thought it would go with the 3 other hand-dyed ones I've chosen. So I decided just to go for a classic Drops. I find Flora really soft, which is why I chose it. It's 65% wool and 35% alpaca, and it's a fingering weight yarn, but it's really beautiful. I really like the colours. It's kind of heathered. It is in their mix range, so it is kind of heathered, so it will go. And I thought it really pulled out the blues in the other 2. And then the other solid-ish colour that I chose was this Nervous Fibres yarn. So this is by Charlotte of Nervous Fibres, which is a yarn dyer based in Glasgow. I actually didn't buy this one at Perth Festival of Yarn. I bought it from Charlotte at one point when she was having a sale. I'm a sucker for Nervous Fibres. I have a lot of Nervous Fibres. I really like the company and what it stands for. Nervous Fibres is about nervous fingers, and I use knitting for my anxiety, and I just really resonated with the brand, so I've bought quite a few things from Charlotte. But this is her buttered colourway, and it's alpaca cashmere silk, and it is gorgeous. So I can't wait to have this wrapped around my neck in a scarf form that I can snuggle into. It is 70% alpaca, 20% cashmere and 10% silk, and it's fingering, and I would 1,000,000% recommend this, and also would buy it again. So this is beautiful, and this will be my other solid colourway in the Gallus. And then the centrepiece, the middle parallelogram that's really going to bring all the colours together, is this Zakami yarn. This is 100% fine merino, and it's fingering, and Zakami are a dyer based in Edinburgh as well, which is just over the water from me. And this is a beautiful golden brown, it's got turquoise, it's got navies in it, and I really thought it pulled together all of the other yarns that I'm using. This is actually a skein that came from one of their Oh No, Oh Yes boxes. They put together packages of 4 skeins of yarn that they had dyed by accident or mistakes they had made in the dyeing process, and they sold them off, and I bought one because, again, I'm a sucker. And this one came out of it, so it doesn't actually have a name. It was a mistake dye, and I think it's absolutely beautiful for a mistake, and it goes perfectly with the rest of the colours that I will be using. So this isn't cast on yet, but like I said, it's got a deadline of the Scottish Yarn Festival, so I really need to get cracking. I wanted to make sure that I made the Leith cardigan into a vest before I started the gallus to make sure I was going to get all of it done. So this will be a gallus next time that you see it. If not, it will be definitely started. Okie dokie then. Sorry, I'm fidgeting because my legs are getting sore. Let's move on to another stash. These two items were purchased a long time ago, but I've sat in stash for a while just because I've been working on other things. So they're kind of acquisitions, kind of from my stash now because they've been in there so long. So I'll start with the first one. Last year for Christmas, I knit my boyfriend a zipper sweater. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And when he wore it to my parents' house, my dad said, "Oh my goodness, that's an amazing jumper. Did you make that? I would love one of those." And he tried it on, and it looked lovely on him. So I thought this year I'm going to knit one for my dad. I was entirely inspired to get this or put this in this podcast by by Laura of Penrose Knits with her Vlogmas in July. It was all about trying to finish some Christmas stuff from last year, trying to get prioritised for Christmas this year, and I really just thought, I need to get started with this. Men's garments for me always take so much longer. I had to buy 18 balls of this yarn. 18 balls of this yarn to make a jumper for my dad, so I know it's going to take me a long time and I just need to get started, which is why it is being mentioned in today's up next, I guess. So I'm going to use the Drops Nepal. That's what I used for my boyfriend's jumper last year, and I was actually wearing it earlier today when I was chilly. This is their burgundy colourway, so it's colour 8916. This sort of colour really suits my dad. He absolutely loves to wear reds and dark reds. So this is another alpaca and wool blend. It's 65% wool, 35% alpaca, and this is 75 metres for 50 grams. So it's slightly thicker than the Lima I was talking about earlier. But it's really nice and really soft. I think my dad will really like it. So this is going to be a zipper sweater by Petite Knit. I'm not sure if I actually mentioned that Petite Knit designed the zipper sweater, but hopefully, well, I have now. So I will put some photos in of what that's going to look like, and yeah, I think it's going to be lovely. And this isn't the last time you're going to hear about a zipper sweater today. Okay, and the final stash divey acquisition is a special one. I think in March time, I was watching Amy from Knee Knits on YouTube. She was doing a podcast episode, and she paired up with a Canadian store called the Twisted Pearl Yarn Studio, and she was giving her viewers a discount on some of their yarn. I live in Scotland, as I've mentioned several times, and I have found it quite difficult to get some yarns that are talked about regularly in the knitting community. One of those yarns being Noro Yarn. Now, I have been staring at Noro Yarns online for a very long time, and when I saw that she was doing a discount, I think it was a big discount. It was either 30 or 40%, which is why I looked at it in the first place. And they did Noro, and I thought, this is the time. If I'm getting 30% off Noro, then I should be buying the Noro. So I went on, I worked it all out, I sat and worked out the shipping costs, I worked out if I was going to get taxed for getting it sent here and have to pay import fees and things like that. And I worked out how much it would be to get this from these guys rather than get this from a UK store. And the difference with the 30% meant that I could get an additional 2 skeins of Noro for the price. I would get 2 more skeins than what I could get in the UK for the same price. So I decided to treat myself. Treat myself to Madara. This is Noro Madara. It is absolutely beautiful. This is the It's not the grey base, it's like the slightly blue base. I cannot remember the colour, but I know it's colour 3, and I'll pop it up somewhere when I look up the colour in my inbox later. But this is 60% wool, 30% silk and 10% alpaca. But the thing about Noro is they use a lot of recycled yarn, so all of the colours in there are just absolutely stunning, and I couldn't get away from it. I just had to treat myself. Treat myself so much that I bought this, it arrived, I left it in the box, and that is where it has been since. I'm so nervous to swatch with it because I know how much of a treat it is, so I think I needed to sit with it for a while to just let it chill. Like, let me no longer think of it as really expensive yarn and just think of it as something I've had in my stash for a while. Apologies if you can hear the car outside. There's one person that drives around our streets revving their engine like a hooligan. Okay, that's them gone now. Yeah, so I have also decided to knit a Uris sweater by Igo Knits. Now, I've probably butchered both of those names there, but I apologise. It'll be on screen and I'll show you a photo. It is a cabled sweater, but it is cabled horizontally. So you work the sleeve and then you kind of knit an entire rectangle with a hole in the middle across the way, and then you knit the second sleeve, and then you add the neckband, you seam the sides and you add the bottom, I think. Or that's what I assume it is like to get those horizontal cables. I watched that go through testing. I watched all the testers knit their versions. I loved all their versions. I saw someone say they were going to do it in this, and I was like, okay, I wanted to do that pattern, wanted to try Noro, this is the perfect match. So that is the sweater I want to make myself this autumn winter. Again, like I say, I'm still a little bit nervous of using the yarn, but I'm also quite nervous of that pattern because I have never knit something like that before. So I need to give it another look. I'm trying to get through the Gallus and the Leith just now, and the baby knit, and then this is gonna be my reward for finishing some of those things, is to knit up with this. So I will let you know how it goes, obviously, in the next podcast. Hopefully I will have at least a swatch, if not have cast it on. But yeah, this is my treat yourself yarn. Okie dokie then, let's move on to pure acquisitions. These are things I've received this week or in the last 2 weeks. They're probably not things I'm going to work on straight away just because I've got quite a few things to cast on, but they are stuff that I'm so excited to have in my stash and just in my life. So first of all, let's start with one that's not directly yarn. Let's have a little break from the yarn. I follow Crafty on Instagram, and she made a post about Lysander and Olive. Now, I can't remember if they were having a sale because they were closing or if they were having a sale because they were just trying to get rid of some older stock, but I'm a sucker for a test knit and I'm a sucker for a sale. So they had a sale. I don't even think it was that big a sale, but I was like, get me some new project bags. So Lysander and Olive do project bags. I'm not sure if they're specifically for socks or for knitting, but that's what I'm using them for, obviously. So I will show you them now. I got 2, and I bought these 2, I must admit, one for me and then one for my mother. They are very much the same, but maybe slightly different spice levels is how I would describe them. So now they've arrived, I want to keep them both, but I probably will gift one to my mum in the end. So the first one is this beautiful sock project bag. They both come with these lovely Lysander and Olive zipper tags, but they are just clipped on there with a lobster clasp, so you could 100% use them as progress keepers as well. This one has a teal zip along the top, and then the pattern on it is little pumpkins, apples, leaves, that sort of thing. I think there's even cups of coffee on there. Yep, and it's just really autumnal. Slices of pumpkin pie, maybe? I love autumn. Autumn is my favourite season. Whenever we're driving around in autumn, I'm just staring out the window like, Angus, look at the leaves, they're so beautiful. And I love when they're all red and yellow and orange. I absolutely love that. When it's raining and cold outside, you can have a hand knit item on, wrapped in a blanket, with a hot drink, watching TV in the evening. I absolutely love it. I do like summer, but autumn has my heart. So when I saw these, I knew I had to pick them up. So that is the first one, and like I said, they're pretty much just different spice levels, but the same thing. This one just has a white zip, but it is pumpkins, apples, mushrooms, and then little watering cans. We really focused on our garden when we first moved into this house. We wanted it to be done for Albie. When you move into a new build, you get a dirt pile as your back garden. And we've now got a beautiful border and lovely grass put down that we did with our family. So we're really lucky that we were able to do that. But I thought this little watering can was just so accurate for us right now. We are really inspired by our garden. We keep putting flowers out there and buying plants and plant pots. So when I saw it, I just had to go in my basket if I was buying one anyway. So like I say, they're different spice levels, basically the same thing. I might give one to my mum. I might keep them both for myself. I think I have this weird thing in my brain where I'm like, you can't buy that, that's silly. And then I have to remind myself, I'm a 26-year-old adult. Like, I can buy whatever I want. And as long as I can pay my bills, it doesn't matter if I want to buy 2 project bags that are basically the same. So I'll let you know if I gift one to my mother, but right now I'm just going to keep them for me, because I really like them and they're pretty. So if Lysander and Olive are still on Etsy, go check them out. These are really good quality, perfect for putting your sock projects in. I reckon you could get 2 skeins in here at a push probably. Definitely 2 skeins of Arwetta would go in here if you were knitting socks with 2 of them. Or even a hat, a beanie or some mittens, just one of your smaller projects, or the start of a project would definitely fit in these bags. So it's a big thumbs up for me on Lysander and Olive. And then the acquisition, the last knitting acquisition, I've got a couple of I've got one fabric acquisition and some sewing acquisitions. But yeah, I'm going to show you my last knitting acquisition. And it came in the form of Beehive Yarns. Beehive Yarns had a launch of their newest collection this week. It is called the Dreamscapes collection. And when I saw it, my jaw literally dropped. I was just in awe of all of the beautiful colours, and if I could have bought one of every single one, I would have. They did a mini skein set, but I have a mini skein advent calendar staring me in the eyes right now that I haven't used yet, so I just thought, you can't buy more mini skeins that you don't need. So I thought, what can I buy? Oh, full skeins. So I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, I have really sensitive skin, so the majority of the yarns that I have to choose are soft, really soft. A lot of them have alpaca in. For that reason, I find alpaca really soft on my skin, and I really struggle to use mohair. So before I knew that, I have a couple of like long-standing whips, hibernating whips if you will, that use mohair, and I think that's part of the reason that they're hibernating, because at the time I just didn't know that I didn't really get on with it. But they are sitting there, and I'll bring them out as and when I start to work on them again. But to that end, I have found that what works with my skin is a suri base, so an alpaca suri alpaca, and silk blend. So I saw that in the Dreamscapes drop, they were doing their kit base, which is 74% suri, 26% silk, and I just had to have it. So I won't tease your brains anymore, I'll just show you. This is the suri that I went for. I don't know if you can tell by my smile, but I am obsessed with it. It just came today and I just want to stare at it all the time. It is so drapey. It's absolutely stunning. This is in the colour Aquarius. So I think I bought all 4 skeins that were in like the ready to buy, but you can do a pre-order purchase if you like on her website just now, so I will show you it just now. But this is Aquarius. This is my favourite colour, this turquoisey tealy colour, but it's mixed with blues and purples. There's even some greens in there. And when I saw this, I was just like, I need it. There was this one, and there was one that was slightly more tealy, but this one really grabbed me. So I bought 4 skeins of this. This is the most suri alpaca I've ever bought in one go, I believe. Well, for hand dyed, definitely. It's the biggest hand dyed suri order I've ever made. and I'm obsessed with it. The plan for this is to use it to make a zipper sweater. I told you it would make another appearance. I absolutely love the zipper sweater. And then when I found out that's what I could make with this amount of yardage, sorry, I didn't actually say, there's 300 meters per 50 grams and each skein is 50 grams. With that yardage, I can make myself a zipper sweater in my size, and I thought, I just have to do that. I really thought about a Monday sweater, but interestingly, I couldn't get the yardage for a Monday sweater, but I could for a zipper sweater. I don't really know how that works in my brain, but that is what my maths did, so unless my math is wrong, which to be honest it could be, that's what my plan is just now. I think it's going to be beautifully feminine for a garment that is quite masculine, or gives off more masculine vibes. I think this will make it quite feminine. The plan is to mix it with some sort of light blue. I think light blue would be the way to go rather than white. I know this isn't light blue, so I'm thinking slightly lighter than this, but something like that maybe. Just lighter than that would be a beautiful combination, yeah, to make a zipper sweater. So this isn't a cast on soon project because of all the other things I've got on the needles or planning to go on the needles, but I can't wait. So I might get impatient and cast it on, which to be honest wouldn't be out of character for me, but you'll see in the next podcast what I do with it, and if my plans change. But right now it is to be a zipper sweater. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I just want to sit like this and like cuddle it because it's so soft. But yeah, stunning, stunning, stunning. Thank you so much. And actually, there's more. There's unfortunately more from Beehive Yarns. I actually messaged the dyer afterwards and I said, please do not accept any more orders from me. I've bought a Beehive advent calendar for this year. She did a patisserie theme, and I was like, straight in my basket. Didn't even really think about it, just put it in my basket, and then I've been paying the installments and slowly realising it's quite a lot of money. But Beehive Yarns are amazing, and I had to message her and say, please, other than my advent amounts that I have to pay, don't let me buy anything else, because I tried to be reserved and I still spent a stupid amount of money in this shop. So, and she was like, thank you so much. But anyway, unrelated. The final yarn, note that I said yarn, that I bought from Beehive was another one of their Suri alpacas. Like I mentioned, I've been watching Laura from Penrose Knits and her Vlogmas in July, and she has been making mittens for her children's teachers, and you cannot understand how hooked that made me on making some form of mittens. If it's not builders, it's children. If it's not children, it's dogs barking. If it's not dogs barking, it's cars. Lord alive. Anyway, she is making mittens for her children's teachers. Last year she made penny gloves, and it just really hooked me. They look really easy, they look really lovely to knit, and it also gives you an opportunity to maybe use a yarn that you wouldn't normally use. So that is exactly what I got with this. This is the kit base again, so the Suri alpaca, but this is in Barbie Galactica. Now, I wouldn't wear a garment in this, it's just a bit bright for me. Pink isn't usually a colour that I choose, but this has blues and yellows and reds in it, and I thought this would make a cracking pair of gloves, and I would absolutely love a pair of gloves in this colour. I would walk around feeling like the bee's knees, thinking everyone was looking at me with my cool gloves. So I had to pick this up. When I bought this, I actually had it in mind to pair with a yarn that I had in stash. So this is by Yarn Unique. I got this from the shop Crochet Creative. They used to have an in-person shop in Stirling. I now think they're just online and you can go and pick up from the store, I think. But this is by the dyer Yarn Unique, and it's in the colourway Be Brave. It's 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon, and it's 425 metres for 100 grams, so it's a fingering weight. And this yarn, like I say, I've had in stash for a while. It's this blue and speckled pink yarn. I'm not sure if it would micro stripe just because it is so half and half, but I wouldn't mind that, I don't think. I just think it's going to be stunning. And with the blues and the yellows that this pulls, I just thought that would make, like, because those are really similar and up here's really similar, so I just thought this might make a really interesting pair of mittens. I might change my mind, I might use this. I've got a more variegated just plain pink yarn up there, and then I've got a cream yarn that's got pink speckles in. Sorry, I'm looking at them, but I won't bring them over just now. that I could pair this with. So right now this is the front runner, but if I do a swatch or start knitting mittens and it really doesn't work, the two together, then I'll maybe give it another think and use one of my other yarns in stash. But this, as soon as I saw it in the shop, I was like, Jo, you weren't to buy anything else, but I just loved it. And I just think it'll be really exciting to knit with, and that's what knitting is for me. It's just enjoying what I'm doing. So I will let you know and you will see what this turns into. But yeah, that was my last yarny purchase. But obviously I thought if I'm making an order, I may as well. I did the bad thing of logging or bringing up the website before the launch time, and I was just perusing through the website and found a bunch of other things that she sells. So Beehive Yarns also sell needle stoppers. Now I use ChowGoo needles for the most part. I also use Knit Pro, but for the most part I use ChowGoos. And I only have one set of the little needle stoppers, which is a little bit dangerous when you're working sleeves or you need to put shoulder stitches on holders or something, and I don't always have spare yarn to hand. So what I often use is needle stoppers. I actually have a pair. Now these are really tangled in yarn, so I apologise, but I actually have a pair on my shoreline. These lovely little Highland cows, which are adorable. These also came from Hannah when I got the project bag, and I just really like them. So Beehive did a couple of pairs, and I got two of them, obviously. So these are the little rainbows, bright rainbow, which I just thought was really lovely, and they just reminded me of summer, so I picked up those. And then I got a more autumny one, little foxes, which I just thought again were adorable, that I can use for my needles. So I picked up those two. And then actually I also picked up some wool soak. So I've seen loads of people talk about wool soak. I have only ever used hand soap to wash my knits when I'm blocking them. And that has been because of my sensitive skin. I've worried that if I bought a wool soak that my skin would react to it and get really itchy, and then I've just bought a whole bottle of wool soak that I can't use. So I've always just decided to use hand soap. And then I saw that Beehive Yarns did these little sample packs. So this is a sample pack. First off, comes in an adorable little bag. But you get 6 little samples of this soak wool wash. So the reason I really liked this is because they send you a scentless version. So my plan is to try this scentless one first, check that the actual formula doesn't irritate my skin at all, and then once I've tried this and it's been successful, then I can maybe move on and try one of the scented ones. So they have fancy names. One is called Celebration. Let me see if I can find what it's... Oh, no, doesn't say what it smells like. That's great. So this one's called Celebration, and it says Good Clean Fun underneath it. One is called Lacy, and it says Material Girl. One is called Fig, and it says Fresh Picked Clean. One is called Yuzu, and it says Clean with Appeal. And the other one, the final one, says Pineapple Grove, Sweet on the Inside. So I think that gives you an indication, or it's meant to give you an indication of what they smell like, but it doesn't actually say what their scents are. So I'm going to give these a go. If the scentless one works for me and the rest of them don't, I'll just buy a scentless pack. If any of these work and I love the smell, I'll go for those. So I just thought that was a really good alternative. I often find things like skincare, whenever I'm trying to buy skincare, is a nightmare because my skin hates everything. And no one ever does sample sizes for you to just try it for a week and see if your skin's going to hate it or not. And like, if I was going to run a skincare brand, that is what I would do, because I am fed up of buying full size things, trying them, and then my skin hates it and just having to give it to a friend, and I've wasted 15 quid on some skincare. So sorry, bit of a rant about sensitive skin, but I really loved that they did these soak minis. And then I think probably because the owner felt a bit sorry for me having spent so much money in her launch, she sent me a lovely stitch marker. So this is a little blue pumpkin. I use these as stitch markers. I guess you could call them progress keepers. Any of the ones, I don't know if these are called lobster clasps or if the lobster clasp is the other one. But any of these ones with the slightly bigger hoop, I use as stitch markers or as progress keepers, but this is a little blue and gold pumpkin, and I just think it's utterly adorable. And it's really lovely that they decided to send me a free gift because I spent too much money in their shop. So yeah, that is the end of my Beehive Yarn. Oh, man. Beehive Yarns section of this acquisitions. And my last knitty acquisition, which is just wonderful. I love new yarn, I love receiving it, but I also love stash diving and really seeing what's in my stash. And in this lovely craft room which I'm in, I've got all my yarn displayed and it's just so nice. Up until now it's been in bags, so I would buy something, not cast it on straight away, put it in a bag and almost forget it was there. I'm a very visual person, so to have it all there is really lovely for me to be able to pick out things that I want to knit on and feel really inspired every day. So I'm really excited to get these up on the yarn wall and displayed and then be inspired by them every time I see them. Okie dokie, so that's all my knitting acquisitions. I guess this next one is kind of a hybrid. It's a knit sew hybrid acquisition, and I'm going to show you it or talk to you about it now and insert some footage because it's not going to be easy to show in this format, so I took some videos. These are labels that I have bought for my knits and for my sewing projects. So they say a variety of things. They talk about it being slow fashion, they talk about these being made with love and swear words or love and bad words and love and lots of money, and I just think they're really tongue-in-cheek, which I love. I had labels made a long time ago that say MadebyJo on them, and I love to put those in my items. I use them a lot for bags, but I love to put them in the clothes I make for my nephews and things like that, and anything I'm making for someone or a friend to give to someone or something like that. But I just thought these are really personal and really adorable, and yeah, I just love them. They're by, I want to say Rainbow Folk. If I got that wrong, I will insert the name because I can see the invoice over there, I just cannot get to it just now. So I will insert the name of the company and where you can get them, but I bought mine on Etsy. So I bought a slow fashion collection, and that comes with 5 labels, so if you wanted to give them a test you totally can and just do that. But then I also bought a bunch of the individual ones. Let me get one out. When you get them, they appear to be quite big, but you fold them in half. So this is a very slow fashion one. So you would fold it in half like that. So the top of it would say slow fashion, and then the bottom says so painfully slow, and it also says the instructions to wash it. So this one says hand wash and dry flat, which is the most appropriate one for most of my knits. And I also got some that says this took forever to sew and things like that for some of my clothing gifts. So those are amazing. They weren't that expensive. I think it was £4 for 5 of them, which isn't that expensive for labels that I have seen. Please let me know if you find anywhere that's cheaper. But I thought they were lovely, and I can't wait to put them in some of my knits, but also in some of my sewing projects. And then finally, I just thought it would be lovely to show you some of the fabric that I have picked out to work on over the next wee while. Like I said, my sewing machine is still in the box that it moved to this house in, and once I get the chaos around me organised, I'll crack out my sewing machine. It's more of an autumn-winter hobby for me because in the summer I like to be outside as much as possible. I like to be going to see family and friends, so I need a craft that's nice and portable, which is why I often turn to knitting or crochet. But now we're getting into the autumn, I will be doing some more sewing, even if it is summer pieces for next year. So I also have some clips of these because it's not going to be easy to show you these again in this format, but I will talk through them. So I have just picked out a couple that I bought recently that I really like. So this is just a green fabric. I believe it's double gauze, and it's a really soft green. It's really drapey and it's really lightweight. And to be honest, I bought this for a jumpsuit. I had an idea of a really comfortable jumpsuit or a trouser top combo that I could wear in the summer that was still casual but was lightweight. I often find in the summer that I wear dresses or I wear shorts a lot, and I just thought it would be nice to have a longer leg option for when it's sunny and I don't want to get burnt. So I really bought this to try that out. So this is just your basic green. I'm pretty sure I bought this from Rainbow Fabrics, which is a company that's sell dead stock fabric, so they go abroad and they go to factories and they buy dead stock that's no longer being used by designers. So I really love supporting them. The customer service has been fab. It's where I got all my towels for the new house, and I would really recommend. I actually have another thing coming from them, which is a ribbed fabric to make a jogger jumper set for the autumn, so I'll show you that next time. But this will hopefully become a lovely jumpsuit for me for the summertime. The next one is slightly more interesting to look at. This is one I bought a wee while ago now to make a summer dress, and it is this lovely patchwork quilt design fabric. It's obviously not a patchwork quilt, it's a really lightweight fabric, but it's really beautiful as well. Oh, I dropped a layer. It's absolutely stunning. I got 4 meters of this and I thought it would make a beautiful dress. I just bought the patterns from, it's called Swim Style. I think they're an Australian brand, and I bought the patterns online, and I want to make the, now let me get this right, Ellery dress. It's a 3/4 sleeve, 3-tier dress. It looks beautiful, and I just thought that fabric would make a really lovely dress for me to wear, lightweight and comfortable, and I think it'll look really nice gathered, so I'll give that a go. I may or may not have done that by the next time I podcast. If I haven't, then I won't show it, obviously, but I might be wearing something new that I've made next time. And then the final fabric and the final thing I've got to talk to you about today is this, and I'm really excited about it. So you know how I just said I don't wear pink? It may be in my future to wear pink. This is a pink cord fabric. I cannot remember where I bought this from because it was a while ago now, but I do remember that they sent me a matching thread because I do not have pink thread, so that's fab. But this is a corduroy style fabric, and it's in this bright fuchsia pink, and I bought 4 meters of it, I think, at the time. And this is entirely inspired by Annie. She was also, like Brogan that I mentioned before, on the Great British Sewing Bee, and I really loved the stuff that she was making. She made very modern things, but she made really beautiful things. And I follow her on Instagram, and she made a bright pink corduroy jumpsuit. It's kind of like a boiler suit, it has long sleeves, it has wide flared legs, a beautiful tie-in belt, and buttons up the middle, and a collar. And I just, as soon as I saw her in it, I was like, need one. It's like that thing that's like, I can't even remember the quote from Mean Girls now. I saw Regina George wearing this, so I started wearing it. Something like that. It was literally like that with Annie. As soon as she did it, I was like, straight on Google, pink corduroy fabric. What? And then she quoted the pattern that she used and adapted, and I thought, buy the pattern. So I've not bought the pattern yet, but this is what that is earmarked for. It would have been perfect for the summer, obviously. This summer probably would have been too hot for it until about now. But with the move and stuff, I just haven't got around to it. So that is definitely on the agenda to go through my sewing machine soon. But it's just stunning. I can't wait to be a pink girly. And I mean, I could wear this in winter with my gloves, my mittens, and like a cute beanie hat and a long coat, and just live my Barbie dreams if I wanted to. I don't know if I ever will, but if I wanted to, I definitely could with this outfit. And I think it's going to be sick once I get around to it. So hopefully I will have made some progress of some kind with some of these sewing projects by the next time I speak to you guys. So that is me. My first podcast ever. That actually was really fun. I really enjoyed speaking to you guys today. My plan for podcasting is to use it as a way for me to document what I've been up to, what stage I'm at, what is floating my boat, and what colours I'm enjoying and fabrics I'm enjoying, and also what projects I'm working on. I think it's a lovely way to have a little diary of the things that you were working on at the time and what you were like and what you were wearing and that sort of thing. So this podcast really is starting for me. I've really wanted to do it, and I think the only thing that's been holding me back for a little while has been the perception of those people that you used to know, so like old school friends or people that you don't really know anymore. And it's taken me quite a while to realise that that's not a good enough reason for me to not do something that I think will bring me joy. And podcasting is something that I find really joyful to watch, so I'm hopeful that at least one person thinks that this is also joyful for them. So that is why I'm podcasting. I think I'm going to try and podcast every 3 or so weeks. For me, 2 weeks is really not enough time for me to make any decent progress, and a month seems a little bit infrequent for me. I know for the podcasts I watch, when it's a month gap, I often get to week 3 and I'm like, come on, I need some new content. I've watched everything that I wanted to watch. So I'm going to go for hopefully every 3 weeks. That's the initial plan. And also I have committed to myself to give this a bash until Christmas. I want to make a good go of it. I want to try and see how I get on. The plan is to keep doing it until Christmas and then assess how I'm feeling about it. This really is, for me, it's something that brings me joy. Getting all this stuff out today, talking about my projects, has really made me excited. This whole week I've been talking to my boyfriend about it, so much so that he's like, can you just bloody do it so it's done? And you can stop talking to me about all the things you want to talk about. So yeah, it's really brought me a lot of joy, and I want to make sure that in December, if I'm still doing, or I will be, in December when I'm still doing this, that it's still bringing me this joy. If it is, then I'll reassess and keep going. If I've decided it's not bringing me as much joy, or I'm focusing on the wrong things, then maybe I'll reassess at that point. But right now, I'm really loving it. I'm enjoying the editing, I'm enjoying the filming and talking to you guys, so yeah. I hope you have enjoyed my first ever crafting podcast. I hope you will come back again and maybe see how I've gotten on with some of these projects. I've never done this before, but if you fancy a chat, feel free to drop a comment maybe below, or reach out to me on Instagram. My Instagram is designs.madebyjo, and I would love to chat to you. You can send me a DM or whatever, and I'd love to make some more knitting friends, or some more crafting friends. So if you're a sewer or a crocheter, then thank you very much for joining as well, because I know today's been knitting heavy, but hopefully depending on what I'm working on, it'll ebb and flow between crochet and sewing as well. So yeah, thank you very much for coming along. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. For me it's Friday, so I hope you have a lovely weekend, and yeah, I'll speak to you next time. Bye!